Good evening. Robert here with MedPriva. It is 10:08 p.m. here in East Africa. Thank you for joining us. Good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. We've been teaching you on preventable medicine, what we call description that keeps you from prescription. And if you're on prescription, how you better take care of yourself when you understand some of these processes that sometimes look like they are Greek. But we're doing everything here to make sure that those processes you're able to understand them, grasp them, and therefore we use minimal medical terminologies and jargons so you can be able to understand. Because once you understand how dangerous some of these things can be, especially when we talk about preventable diseases, the reasons to why they are preventable but they seem to be the ones that are wreaking havoc in the world is because every culture is socialized to think that if you're sick you have to feel some pain, and for the silent killer, high blood pressure or hypertension, you're not going to have any symptoms. Or for diabetes, you are going to have some symptoms, but it's not going to be painful. And when those diseases get complicated over time, they're called chronic illnesses for a reason, because chronologically it takes time before some of these major things show up, and it's not something that's going to kill you right away, but as they become complicated or the complications start developing, then you start having disabilities and issues and losing your quality of life or function, and that's where you get some of those. But all these things actually start as a reason of food, how we eat, how much we're eating. You can eat very healthy food, but if you're eating large portions, that doesn't quite help you. And that brings me to the article that I want to introduce to you today, which was done in 2014. And it was done on a financial newspaper to advise investors how they're going to meat that we are eating, and so it is the portions. And very interesting, because this article was advising investors how they're going to be investing in Africa, and it's interesting that you can make investment decisions in Africa based on tractor companies start showing up in Kenya, in Africa. And it's very interesting. That's what this article tells you, exactly where to invest, and tells you the tractor making companies is one of the places that you're going to be investing in. Then they tell you that you're going to be needing a lot of agrochemicals and seeds, modified seeds and stuff, and so you need to invest in companies that make this seed, because there is big business that is coming from Africa. Again, why? Because there is demand for more food. The size of the plate is getting bigger. And down the road, distribution. So they advise investors to invest in distribution of this food. How is this food going to get to your plate? From a restaurant. Which kind of restaurant? Fast food restaurants. As you get busier in the city, what you're going to demand, not just more food, but fast. It has to be delivered to you fast. And so how is this related to healthcare? As we demand more food, and as we eat more food than we need, the natural consequence is going to be that we're going to be packing that food on our bodies. And so our weight is going to come from normal to overweight to obese. And that's why you're going to start dealing with some of these diseases. And basically, you may not necessarily have to have, suffering from obesity for you to have health issues. Your cholesterol may be very high, which is bad for your health, as a result of eating foods that are not that are deep fried and stuff like that. So basically, this leads to what I call disease capitalism. As our income are rising, then we are demanding more food than we need, than is necessary, and therefore leading to what I call disease capitalism in my book Dollar Alta. And it's very interesting because then the economy is going to be doing very well on the backs of the sick and the dying. How is that? Because as you get sick, then people are going to be demanding more hospitals, more pharmaceuticals, more healthcare centers, and wheelchairs. As we get strokes and cardiac centers for heart attacks, we're going to be having as a result of what? This food that we are eating. The thing is, it's not that the investor is causing this. The investor basically is a business person who watches for changing preferences and taste in different places and decides as a result of that how they're going to invest. So they're basically taking advantage of a natural consequence of rising income, but that down road or down that path, you're going to have again demand for healthcare as our diet changes, and as we eat more, we get sick with diabetes and blood pressure. And we have, as I described in previous episodes, the complications of diabetes and high blood pressure, which is strokes, heart attacks, kidney failure. So we're going to be demanding more wheelchairs, more cardiac centers, catheterization, dialysis, medications. So the economy will be seeming to be doing very well, but on the back of what? The people who are very sick and dying. And what Dollar Alta, the book, tells us is you can have an economy that is doing very well, but is doing very well on the back of the sick and the dying and heavily indebted. And so it discusses how we would watch other places that have developed, especially on this side of the world, watch of the people who've developed first and learn from the mistake and not replicate or structure economy the same way that is being structured elsewhere. And so it's very important for us to learn not to copy. They say when you do like the Romans, you die like the Romans. So it's very important that we realize we've been studied as a result of the incomes that are going up, which is a very good thing. But those incomes are going to continue to rise if we're not careful, and the economy is going to continually be doing better as a result of diseases that are coming as a result of how we're eating. And one of the things I didn't mention, as a result of this demand for more food on our plates and more meat, is agrochemicals, some of which are known to be causing cancer. And there is no doubt about some of the studies that have been done, some relating to things like weed killer, and they're more, especially World Health Organization has come up with a very convincing study about how some of these things cause cancer. So it is up to us as individuals to make the right choices, and that's on aggregate is going to determine what kind of nations we're going to be having on this continent called Africa. And so we are informed. So when it comes to preventable diseases, here we want to focus on the bigger picture, not simply advising the individual to make the right choice. It all starts and for the most part ends with what we put in our mouth. So we will discuss the specific foods that basically accelerate some of these diseases coming up. If you like what we are doing, look at the book again, Dollar Alta, on Amazon.com, and also give us feedback and let us know how we are doing. Again, Robert here with Map River. Have a good evening or good morning, depending on where you are. Thank you.